Hey everyone, this is David Brown with the migration update for November 22nd, 2022 from the Ashland Hawk Watch. You can see from the photo it was a sunny morning but a bit chilly with a frost and very light winds, so actually it was fairly comfortable even with the low temperatures in the morning. It warmed up nicely by the afternoon as it developed a light southwest wind. In the morning there were two adult red-shouldered hawks perched in the same tree together. I spent some time photographing the local feeder birds. So here we have a tufted titmouse flying in to grab a sunflower seed. Here is a Carolina chickadee. You can see that nice clean cutoff between the throat and the breast. That's characteristic of Carolina chickadees. Black-capped chickadees can be a bit messier in that area. And here's another Carolina chickadee taking off. This photo is kind of funny. It's a tufted titmouse taking off. And it's leaning forward, but its wings are still folded. It looks like it's going to just like face plant down on the ground below. Here's a white-breasted nuthatch grabbing a sunflower seed. And there's a lot of white-breasted nuthatches around this fall. I think it was a good migration for them. Here we have a red-bellied woodpecker. And we know it's a female because the top of the head is not red. It has the red here just above the bill and on the back of the head. But if it were a male, this red would extend all the way along the top of the head. Here we have a male house finch with a sunflower seed. Here's a tufted titmouse cracking open a sunflower seed. And the titmice like to fly in, grab the seed, and then fly up to a safe perch to crack it open and eat it. And one more look at the same tufted titmouse. Here's a white-breasted nuthatch that just hopped off of a perch. A white-breasted nuthatch at the peanut feeder. One field mark that's always fun to see is this sort of brownish or orangish coloration here in the undertail area. Here's a dark-eyed junco, our classic winter gray and white sparrow. Here we have part of a flock of common grackles. Here's another red-bellied woodpecker perched up in a tree. Here's a red-bellied woodpecker leaving the feeder, and we can even see the red belly from this angle. Here's a female-type purple finch flying over. We can see a bit of that facial pattern with these white lines above and below the eye. You can see the streaking on the breast, which is kind of split. We also see the forked tail. Here's a tree full of eastern bluebirds and a few other species. Looks like some goldfinches, maybe a house finch. Here's a northern harrier that gave us a nice look. It actually went past us and then turned around and came back and hunted for a minute or two, giving us nice looks in the morning light. And here's a topside shot of the same bird. Again, with harriers, you can see this owl-like facial disc that helps them hear. And we also see that white rump patch. We had a big turkey vulture flight at the end of the day yesterday, and that continued into the morning. Although it took a while for the raptors and vultures to start coming up, just because there was hardly any wind today. So they had to wait for the thermals to build. So really it was after 10 a.m. before we saw anything. But once the vultures got going, we had about 60 of them in that first hour of migration. So pretty good numbers for this time of year. Here we have a small flock of cedar waxwings. And I've been checking all of the waxwings closely to make sure there's no Bohemian waxwings sneaking by. That would be a mega rarity here in Delaware. But so far, no luck, all cedar waxwings. This adult bald eagle gave us a really nice look as it soared around. And here's a topside view of the same bird. Here we have a juvenile bald eagle, so a first-year bird. You can see that dark head and overall dark underside. See a lot of white in the wing pit area and throughout the coverts here. And we see that there's an even trailing edge to the wing because it has not replaced any feathers yet. So all of the feathers are the ones it left the nest with. As it replaces feathers over the next few years, you'll see that the juvenile feathers that it has now are longer, and the feathers that it replaces these with are slightly shorter. So you get kind of a jagged trailing edge to the wing in the second and third year birds. But on the juveniles, it's a nice straight trailing edge to the wing. Here we have an adult sharp-shinned hawk. So we can tell it's an adult because of this orange barring on the breast. And we know it's a sharp shin just because of the overall shape. It's a long tail because it's an accipiter, but it doesn't have that really lanky look of Cooper's hawks. It's kind of a medium length tail, relatively small head. and the tail is a bit squared off. We can see that the outer tail feathers are maybe only slightly shorter than the central one. So all tail feathers about the same length, whereas on a Cooper's hawk, the outer tail feathers are usually quite a bit shorter, and there's a bit of gradation, giving the tail more of a rounded look. Although when the tail is completely folded like this, Cooper's hawk tails can also look quite squared off. Here we have a flock of migrating Canada geese, and it was a pretty good day for Canada geese. We had about 1,500 total. Several large flocks of up to 200 birds throughout the day. So this was the first big Canada goose migration that it seems like we've had in a while. I think we had one day about a month ago that we had decent numbers, maybe a couple thousand geese, but seems like recently, no matter what the winds are, we just haven't been getting big numbers. So maybe as it starts to get colder up north, we're finally starting to have the numbers pick up again. Here we have 2 rusty blackbirds that were part of a small flock, and I think we had 5 total for the day. Here's another sharp-shinned hawk. Again, look at that small head, kind of a cute looking face with the eye and the bill, and a squared off tail where all of the tail feathers are about the same length. Here we have a red-shouldered hawk, so notice there's no dark patagial bars that we would see on red-tailed hawks. And you can see the markings here. This is a juvenile. Looks a little bit like a belly band. Hard to tell with the way the light's overexposing things, but it's really just a lot of light streaking on the underside. We can get a hint of those pale crescents near the wingtips. Bit of a banded tail as well. So this is a juvenile red-shouldered hawk. Here we have an adult red-tailed hawk in a glide. So a bit of a bigger, bulkier buteo. You can see those dark patagial bars in the shoulder area, as well as that distinct belly band. And we know it's an adult because of the dark trailing edge to the wings and the red tail. Here's another red-tailed hawk in a glide. Again, it's another adult, so we see the dark patagial bars in the belly band that all red tails show, and the adults have the dark trailing edge to the wings and the red tail. Here we have a juvenile red-tailed hawk, so again we see the dark patagial bars in the belly band. This one has a faint trailing edge to the wing, but it's not that bold trailing edge of the adults. And the tail is more of a brown color and banded. Maybe a little bit of a crop on this bird. Again, if you see a bulge in this area on raptors, we would say that's a full crop, and that means that they ate recently. And here's yet another red-tailed hawk. Again, notice the dark patagial bars in the shoulder area and the belly band. And here is the bird of the day, and this is a really interesting bird, so let's take a look at it. Just by the shape and the red tail, we know that this is an adult red-tailed hawk. We see that the coverts here at the base of the tail are dark, kind of a brown color. We see the tail is a pretty dark red color and has some thin bands on it, including a very thick, dark subterminal band, which is this black band you see here at the tip. And if we take a look at the underside of the bird, we see, hey, wait a second, this isn't our normal eastern red-tailed hawk. This is a very, very dark individual, right? We don't see those patagial bars. We don't see a belly band. We don't see any of that. This is either an intermediate morph or a dark morph bird. Just completely dark on the underside and the coverts. So these are really rare individuals in the eastern U.S. They do occur in small numbers, and there's a little bit of discussion about what they actually are. The old way of thinking was that these were western red-tailed hawks, because the western subspecies has light morphs, intermediate morphs, dark morphs, right? They have a lot more color variation than our eastern borealis subspecies. More recently, people seem to think that these dark red tails could possibly be a dark morph of the northern subspecies, the Abieticola subspecies. But in any case, whichever one it is, it's a really cool red-tailed hawk, something special to see. If you watched my videos this spring, we did have 2 red-tailed hawks that looked kind of similar to this at the Braddock Bay Hawk Watch. But just a really special bird, especially to see one like this so far south here in Delaware. So definitely the bird of the day, and we were really excited to get the chance to see it and watch it in the scope for about 10 minutes, and I was able to get some photos, although I wish it had come a little bit closer. Here we have an adult female northern harrier. So we see it's one of the brown harriers. So those are the adult females and the juveniles. but we know it's an adult female because of all this streaking on the upper breast. It's not that plain orange underneath of the juveniles. It's that really streaked breast of the adult female, and just more heavily marked overall here in the underwing coverts. And here we have another look at the same bird. Again, notice that streaking on the upper breast. Here we have a flock of migrating Canada geese, and we also see a northern harrier, and this one's a juvenile. You can see that plain underside, no streaking. And we had one final rusty blackbird to end the day. If we check my eBird list, we see that we had 45 species today. And I'll put a link to this if you want to see all the species we had along with the photos. If we take a look at the HawkCount report for our migrant raptor totals, today we had 7 black vultures, 122 turkey vultures, 7 bald eagles, 4 northern harriers, 4 sharp-shinned hawks, 15 red-shouldered hawks, and 5 red-tailed hawks, including that dark morph, for a total of 164 migrant raptors. And if we take a look at the monthly totals, we see for November we're up to almost 3,000 birds, and for the season we're at 20,533 migrant raptors, which puts us within a couple hundred birds of the record season. So with a couple good days coming up in the next week, remember we only have 8 days left of the Hawk Watch, and a couple of them look rainy, but we have a couple days of good weather. If we're getting 100, 200 vultures here and there, we could easily break the all-time season record. So keep following our reports and join us on this journey of possibly a record-breaking year here at the Ashland Hawk Watch in Hockessin, Delaware. Taking a brief look at the forecast for the next few days, tomorrow's looking sunny, high in the mid-50s with light northwest winds. Seems like a pretty good day. Come out and join us. Should be a really beautiful, pleasant day to be out. Thursday, some clouds coming in, but still warm with light winds. Should be another decent day. As we get into Friday, we're looking at cloudy with showers, so not such a good day. And then after that, into the weekend, Saturday's looking good, Sunday's looking rainy, and then Monday is looking like it could be another great fall hawk watching day. I might try to go to Hawk Mountain or somewhere on that day if the forecast holds. All right, that's it for today. And I haven't really been making these daily update videos recently, but I thought with the dark red tail, this would be a perfect day to put out a video. From Lyco Birds, this is David Brown. Thanks for watching.